Okay, this video is going to take you through what we did today in class. It's going to deal with how to pass data from one method to another. And so the first thing that we had students do was to open up pass one argument intro from today's module, and then do a compile and see what happens. So you can just watch, or if you want to do, go along with this, you can, or you can just watch. So in this particular thing, you'll notice that we have the pet is let's see, what do we have? Pet is declared over here, and set up a memory location, and it's got cat in it. So then you have pet speak, with which we know is a method call. So it is calling and invoking this method right here called pet speak, because the names are the same. And then this pet speak gets into action and says everyone should own a, and then it says pet. And so it looks like, okay, well, pet has the word cat in it, so it seems kind of logical that this cat should be put in here, and so it's going to say everyone should own a cat. So let's run it and see what happens. Here we are, or compile it. And so what you notice is that there is an error, and the error says that it cannot find the symbol. In other words, it can't find pet out here in the computer memory anywhere. And so you go, well, I wonder why that is. And so now, first of all, we recognize pet as being a variable call. And as you can see, this variable call is not working in this particular situation, and it's pet is spelled the same, P-E-T, P-E-T, and everything, so it's kind of confusing. Well, what is the issue here? And so we're going to go through some notes then. And so we take the notes here that you should have in front of you. If you don't, then you want to get a hold of these, and we're going to discuss this. So here's what happens. First of all, number one, data cannot be passed from one method to another using a variable call. And so if you look at this particular example, here's a method A and method B. Age is declared here, cat name is declared here, and cat name here is being called from over here. Now here's the thing, here's one method and here's another method, and so this is trying to call a variable. It's trying to pass Fluffy from one method to another. It's not going to work. And just same thing here. Here's age. Age is 7, and it's being called from another method, and so it's trying to pass the 7 over here in another method. Well, this cannot happen, so data cannot be passed from one method to another. So here's what happens. A local variable, I think I'm going to get this set up here to work. And there we are. Okay, so a local variable is going to be a term that we're going to use. Is a variable that is declared within the body of a method or a block of code. So a local variable is a variable that is declared within the body of a method or block of code. So here is a block of code which happens to be method A. The local variable is a variable that is declared within the body. So remember, a declaration has a data type and a variable, and so this right here is a declaration. Age has been declared within the body of method A. Therefore, this is a local variable to method A. It's kind of like being local geographically, I guess is the right word. So, you know, for instance, let's just say Arizona is local and Oregon is long distance or out of state. So you have local, you have cities that are within the boundaries of the Arizona, and then you have cities that are within the boundary of Oregon. Same kind of idea. These have boundaries, which happens to be the curly braces. Now, so the contents of a local variable can only be accessed from within the method or block of code in which it is declared. So the contents of a local variable can only be accessed from within the method or block of code in which it is declared. Now, when age was declared, it reserved a memory location and named it pet, and so it's got the word cat. And I'm just going to write this because I have to go fast here. I don't want to take all day here, so this is going to be a little sloppy. So these contents are available only within the method or block of code in which it was declared. It's only accessible. This stuff here is the things in this method. They can't. This age, for instance, here is not coming from within method A, so it's not. That's not local. It won't be visible. It's not. You can't access it here. And so the contents. Okay. Then the local variable for method A is age. It can only be accessed from within method A, which you just said. The local variable for method B, well, what was declared within the boundaries of this is cat name. So cat name is local variable to method B. It can only be accessed from within method B. Okay, so we move on. 6. The scope of a variable refers to the section of code from where a variable can be accessed. It refers to a section of code from where a variable can be accessed. So here's pet here, and here's another one called cat name here. Okay, so sorry about the sloppiness. So the deal is that the scope of a variable refers to the section of code from where a variable can be accessed. So here's age. Oh, I put pet. What a ding ding. Okay, so age. So age, these contents can be accessed from within the method A, so this is going to be the scope. This is the scope of the variable age because it can be accessed from in here. Okay, and then as a general rule though, the scope of a variable is from its declaration to the end of the method or block of code in which it is declared. Okay, so age right here, it can be accessed anytime after its declaration. Now, in other words, we can't put a print statement up here and say and try to get the age, the contents of age, which you've already learned that, is that because you can't call something a variable that hasn't been declared yet or assigned. So, and assume that you have a lot more code in here. If you had code before and after age, it only can be accessed from when it's declared on until the end of the method. Method A is in scope for the variable age. This is in scope to the variable age because it can access age. And then method B is out of scope for the variable age. Here's variable age, and so if it's trying to access it from a different method or a different block of code, it's trying to access, this is called out of scope. So this really, age, cannot even see this variable, this method can't even see this memory location. It's not visible, it can't be accessed. So in scope or out of scope. A variable calls can't be long distance phone calls. Okay, so if you think about it, method A is, or in this case here, let's see. Well, let's do this. Let's just do it quick. So here's method B. Or let me just say it this way. Age is trying to make a phone call from, let's say, Oregon to Arizona. Can't make long distance phone calls. Variable calls that are out of scope, like age is out of scope, from method B is out of scope for the variable age. Variable calls that are out of scope produce the error message, and if you look at that, which we should already see, is that it says it can't find symbol. Okay, so it's looking. Oops, I can't do that. Just blew it. Okay, so I have to go like this. Okay, so in here you want to put can't find symbol. So here it is, the variable call age, and it's out of scope, coming from an area of code that's out of scope. It looks, but only place it can see are those memory locations that are in scope here, in other words within method B, and so it doesn't see anything that says age on it, so it can't find the symbol. So what we need to do now is go back and I can't do that. We need to go back to JGrasp here, and we're going to fix this. And so this is what we would do to fix it. So the variable call here doesn't work. So what's the way that we do it? Well, here's what we do. We're going to take this method call right here. Remember, a method call, this is like in the talent show program. Here's Christy just sitting here doing nothing. And the MC right here, the main method, is doing its thing, his thing, and then he calls using a method call. He says, okay, Christy, in this case pet speak. He calls him on the phone and says, you're up to do your thing. And so the method call comes over here and it invokes this method to get started. Pet speak wakes up and goes to print this line, this output. Okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to add something to this. We saw that this didn't work, so we're going to put in here, inside the parentheses, we're going to put the word pet. Now there's a variable call. It's calling pet, and it happens to be within scope. It's within the main method, which is where pet was declared. So it can access pet. And so really what it says in here is cat. It's because it's calling for the variable value, and so it's cat. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the method header, and we're going to type string, and let's say P. It could be anything you want. We're going to put P. P stands for pet. Alright, and then we're going to go down here. We're going to put a P here instead of pet. Now watch this. This is like magic. We're going to compile it, and see, now there's no more error. And so then we run it, and we'll see if it works right. It should say everyone should own a, and then cat. And that's exactly what it says. And so now, so the question is, why does that work? Well, we're going to demonstrate that in on page 1. I'm sorry, not page 1. Page 3. Page 3. Right here. That's interesting. I thought this had a header up here. But anyway, this is supposed to be page 3. Okay, I found it, so that we do have it here with the header and everything like you do. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this code, and we're going to describe what's going on. So this word pet, and what I'm going to do is I want to kind of hit enter here so I can write in here. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is just type it in here. Okay, this word pet here, of course, is a variable call, but it has another name now that's within the parentheses of a method, our method call. And so what this is called an argument. Alright, so pet, or because of it being within the parentheses, is called an argument. Now, another name for it is called an actual parameter. Now, this type of terminology is going to be used on, actually even in the final exam. So this would be something that you would want to know, just for vocabulary's sake. So this is called an actual parameter. It's also, but mainly I'm going to use the word argument most of the time. Now, what happens is this argument contains a value in it that's going to be passed to the method header that's being called. This is the called method is pet speak. The method doing the calling is the main method, because remember, this is like the MC. These are all the tasks that are being done in there. And so I probably should do that just so maybe it's less confusing. And we'll put in this. Okay. So I would draw an arrow and write the word passed. So the argument is passed to the petspeak method. Now what happens in here is you'll see that it has string and P. Now ask yourself, what is, or can you answer the question, what is string P called? What is that? Well, remember that it's got a data type and a variable, which makes it a declaration. So this really, it's important to realize that this is a declaration. Okay, so string P, data type, and variable is called a declaration. But we are also, and the purpose of knowing that is that means that when 9 is invoked, when it's waked up, when it's woken up, or whatever the word is, by the method call goes, hey, petspeak, wake up. And so what the first thing that this method header does, is it sees that we have a declaration. Well, just like here, it set up a memory location named pet, this is going to set up a memory location here named P. And the purpose of this variable is going to receive the data being passed from the method call. So it's going to store cat in there. And so this, by the way, then has a name. It's called a parameter variable. So P is a parameter variable right here. Why is it a parameter variable? Because it has been declared within the header, within the method header. Okay, this is not local to PetSpeak, but you'll see as we talk about it later, the scope of this variable is the entire method of PetSpeak. So anywhere in this main or in this PetSpeak method, it can call for the value of P. Now, there's another word we're going to give. It's called a formal parameter. So that's to distinguish this from being an actual parameter is the argument, and the formal parameter is in the method header here. And so the way to remember this is that the chronology of this is that the method call happens first. So the first thing that happens is this argument gets passed, and our argument starts with an A, and actual starts with an A. So A is the beginning. So this is where it all starts. So that makes sense. And of course this starts with an F or P. So this is not, this alphabetically it makes sense that this would be next. So this is called a formal parameter. P is not string P, but P. And the parameter variable is not string P, it's P. That's the name of the variable. But it has to be declared in a memory location setup. And so then what happens is then that so instead of calling for a variable that's out of scope, it's going to call a variable that's in scope. And so therefore P is cat, so it's going to say everyone should own a cat. That's how it works. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our notes and take a look at, oh wait, I can just use this same one. We're going to go to page 2. And so the first way that data is passed from one method to another is through a method call, which we just demonstrated. So we did it in JGrasp, and we explained it, gave it some terms and definitions, and now we're going to just fill out the notes on it. So here's examples of method calls passing an argument. Now actually the truth is number 10 doesn't pass an argument because inside the parentheses it's empty. So what does this line do? That's a good test question. What does this line do? You should be able to say, well, PetSpeak, being a method call, invokes or executes the PetSpeak method. It invokes, here's your spelling of it, executes the PetSpeak method. Just like the MC says, okay Sally, you're up. And so it gets Sally moving. Well, PetSpeak method call gets PetSpeak method get going. 11. PetSpeak pet. It invokes or executes the PetSpeak method. Okay, but because it's got something in between the parentheses, it says and passes the value of pet to it. All right, number 12. PetSpeak dog. Now notice you can put a string in here. It doesn't have to be a variable call. Although variable call makes the most sense most of the time, but you can put in a string here, and so it invokes or executes the PetSpeak method, and it passes the string dog to it. Okay, you can also put a double, or you can put an int, whatever. You can put a number, numeric value, in as an argument, and so this invokes or executes PetSpeak method again and passes 14.2 to it. Alright, so that's how that works. Pet, dog, and 14.2 are called arguments, which we already labeled on our example there. And so these are arguments. Another word we call them. See if do you have it in your notes? There, A, the beginning, is actual parameter. It's an argument or an actual parameter or actual parameters, and again I'll use the word arguments most of the time. Now, when you're dealing with a method call, which is invoking another method, the method header of that called method, the one that's being called, would look something like this. So public static void pet speak. Now notice that this is, because this is empty in here, it means inside the parentheses, that means nothing is being passed to this method. So if you remember correctly, over here, since something was being passed, we had something inside the parentheses. However, if this is your method header, then that means nothing can be passed to it. Now this one right here, then, what if I ask, well, what does this line of code do? Is it declares the variable p, because this is a declaration. It means it's got to set up a memory location named p, and it declares the variable p to receive the string being, this is supposed to say being passed to it. The purpose of a parameter variable is to receive and to store the data being passed by the method call. So now here's another example. Here, if a double is being passed, if a decimal is being passed, then inside here, then it's going to declare the parameter variable to receive it. Well, in order to store a double, it's got to be a double itself. So the parameter variable, the formal parameter, has to be declared as a double. Okay, so 18. Let's see. P and AMT, in this case here, P and AMT are called parameter variables, also called formal parameters. And then parameter variables receive and store the data being passed from the method call. So parameter variables receive and store the data being passed from the method call, and that's something that we did declare. We did demonstrate here on paper. And so then parameter variables are local to the method header. So the parameter variable p is local just to the header. This is its locale. This is its Arizona. And so, however, because it's declared in the header, it is then I should say, but it's not local to the method. Let me see. Parameter variables are local to the method header, but not to the method body. Okay, not to the method body. So basically what that means is, here's P. It's local to the method header. This is the local, but not to the body of the method. However, its scope is the body of the method. So in here it can call P all that it wants to. And so, let's see. So parameter variables are in scope to the entire method, or entire, method you could say, or method body. Okay, so that is where we stopped, I think. And the only thing that we did after this was to do a demonstration of a method. And what I might do is I might end up doing this again at some point, or referring to it, so you'll be able to hear about it. But this is all we did, and now you should be prepared to do the assignment for tonight.